here. Okay. See her?
People are talking. So we're going.
They'll chat right here.
All
Yep.
kind of other stuff. Like,
I'm supposed to chat with them back.
Well, they'll just when you want to answer their questions, whatever, they'll be
hey,
right
Joe,
there.
you gonna introduce him? Or you gonna let him introduce himself?
He's right there.
Yeah,
I
let
don't
him
know what to.
introduce himself.
Yeah, introduce yourself, Brandon. You talk a lot.
Hey, I'm Brandon
Is he live?
Woods.
Hey, there we go.
We are live. Just so you guys know, they don't know we're live, but we're live. So welcome to the show. So I'm Brandon Woods. I'm with CPR Plus. I've been a firefighter for 25 years. Been a firefighter, part-time volunteer, and full-time. And I've been on many calls that have to deal with heart and drug addictions. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those today. And hopefully it's got some information for you, some information that's going to help you think, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for other people. Hopefully we're going to give you some information that's going to make a difference and save some lives. Ultimately, that's what we're looking at doing. So let me just start off with telling you a little bit about my little my drug history. It wasn't very long. There's one time I was hanging out with a cousin, and he went to a friend's house. I had no idea that there was going to be drugs involved. And we show up at his friend's house, and him and his friend's dad were lighting him up. They were doing some drugs, and it was crack. They were smoking crack, and I had no idea. It scared the heck out of me. The whole time I was there with them, I just pictured the SWAT team come breaking in the doors and coming to arrest me, and I'm gonna go to jail or prison or whatever, and I'm just a kid, all because I'm hanging out with somebody while they're doing drugs. That was pretty much the extent of my drug experience. So luckily, it scared me to where I didn't want to do drugs. And then I wanted to be a firefighter as I got out of high school. And of course, it doesn't go well with your career if you're doing those things. You can't do those things. So I got certified. I started teaching CPR classes. Started teaching fire classes. And I started teaching EMT classes. I worked for some fairly busy departments. When I first started teaching CPR, the national average was 4%. So 4 out of 100 people that went into cardiac arrest and had CPR done on them survived. Very, very low percentage. And that's changed. And I'll kind of talk about some of the changes and also related with drug addiction. I've had many people in my life that was addicted to drugs, that some people overdosed and made it. Some people overdosed and didn't make it. Unfortunately, a lot of times youths start playing with drugs. They start just trying it. What could it harm? And it does harm a lot. And I can tell you that from experience of having friends and family die because of the drugs. I can also tell you that as a firefighter. When we go on calls, and specifically cardiac arrest, we obviously have to deal with that patient. And while we're working on that patient that's in cardiac arrest, that means the heart has stopped, right? Literally, their life is kind of dangling in our hands. So we're going to do the best we can to help them. Time's not on our side. So through those experiences, we have the opportunity to talk with and meet with the family. And we get to see the effects of of the drugs on their families. It's very, very sad, and it's a scary thing. Nowadays, there's definitely some things that have made things better. Chance of survival is a lot better. One thing they've got now is Narcan. So Narcan is a drug. Sometimes you can get it free, but it is over the counter. You can buy it. Narcan absolutely saves lives. But it's only going to work if they're on a narcotic. And so we're just looking at some of the things. This is one thing I suggest if you're going to be,
Now, let me interject here, Brandon.
Yeah,
Okay. Narcan.
yeah.
Okay. Every household should have it. Am I right or am I wrong? Because you don't know where the drug addict is.
You definitely don't know.
Okay. But if you do know that your son or your daughter or even your parents are a drug addict, that should be the number one staple in that medicine cabinet, and everybody should know how to use it. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. Everybody should know how to use it. And quite honestly, this is a dummy. This is just a trainer. But this is what they look like. It's just a simple, put it inside the nose, spray it, and it's a very fast-acting drug. But it works. It works wonders. And I've seen many lives saved by naloxone or Narcan. It's the same medication. Like I said, it's an over-the-counter medication. Just for kicks and giggles, I stopped at the pharmacy on the way down and found out that their 2-pack, at least at the Sam's Pharmacy, was $60. Some people are going to think that's a lot of money, right? Just to have sitting around. But it's worth saving a life. Sometimes you can get it for free. Sometimes through your insurance, you'll get it free. Some pharmacies give it out for free. The biggest telltale sign that somebody needs Narcan is obviously they're not acting right or they're unconscious. If they're unconscious, they might look like they're dead, blue, pale, gray, ashen, and they're not responding. I'll tell you something I've learned about people in cardiac arrest, specifically people that have overdosed. People are afraid to do CPR. And because of overdoses, I've learned that CPR definitely doesn't hurt people and it doesn't kill people. There's been numerous calls that we've been on where we show up, somebody's doing good, effective CPR on a person. We come in, we check for a pulse. They have a pulse, and we check their pupils. We just open the eyes, look for the black dot there. Is it teeny, teeny, tiny, or is it big? Is it dilated, right? If it's teeny, tiny, the CPR is not going to do any good. They need the Narcan. The CPR is still going to help. I guess I should say it's absolutely going to help because the CPR is still going to be helping keep that person alive. But that Narcan is what's going to get their respiratory drive back. And it works wonders. But the cool thing about going on overdose patients is learning that CPR isn't going to hurt people. A lot of times after we wake somebody up with that medication, they don't complain that their chest hurts. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And that's been a huge thing for me teaching my CPR classes that I tell people all the time. I tell people that, I start out asking the class, why would you not want to do CPR? What concerns do you have? One of the biggest concerns people have is they don't know what they're doing, or they don't want to do more damage than good, right? They don't want to break bones. They don't want to kill somebody. Unfortunately, I think the way we used to teach CPR 15, 20 years ago, we scared people. We talk about the xiphoid process. And if it breaks off, it goes in and punctures the lung, and we can fix a punctured lung. So ultimately, there shouldn't be a reason why you wouldn't want to do CPR. But I ask that question when I teach my classes just to get people thinking about why they wouldn't want to. Every concern that they have, I resolve it and basically show them there's not a reason why you shouldn't do CPR on somebody. So going back to the drug addiction, scenario. The drug addictions, they absolutely affect families. There's one kid that I've been on numerous times, and his grandma takes care of him. She's a feeble lady, and unfortunately, she deals with him overdosing all the time. She has Narcan, she's used it, but many times he's somewhere else, not at home, and he overdoses. Luckily, people find him and call 911, and we're able to help him. But it's a very sad event for us as firefighters and the family to see a life that's just tossed away just for a little bit of a high, especially when the person doesn't make it. So when we do CPR as a firefighter, that's kind of like the worst call that we can have, because there's a lot that we have to do and we have a little time to do it. Hopefully we make the difference, but we definitely don't always make the difference because time is not on our side. So just to give you a little scenario with narcotics, a lot of narcotics now are laced with fentanyl. And anytime there's a batch of heroin, let's say, that comes through town that's laced with fentanyl, we know it. And we know it because we have a lot more deaths, accidental overdoses, but we have a lot more deaths. And like the whole county knows, oh yeah, there's a bad batch coming through, because stuff does get laced with it. And so just one thought for anybody that does, play around with those drugs. Unless you have, Narcan with you and the pocket mask with you to do CPR with, or, fancy little AED machine, the time is very, very limited. Our brain starts to die without oxygen with, 4 to 6 minutes. It can be completely brain dead in about 10 minutes. A little heart, our little buddy here, after 30 minutes, it starts to have tissue damage. So the heart starts to be affected as well. Our whole body starts to be affected. Unfortunately, with all the chemicals and all the food that we eat, there's so many problems that absolutely affect our heart. It's really not worth even playing with the drugs, because you might need that heart later on. I'm a healthy guy. I've always been healthy. I always eat really healthy. And I came up with a condition called hemochromatosis, that my body overdoses on iron.
It's on the ground.
And what that does is if it doesn't get taken care of, it affects my heart, affects my liver, affects my kidneys. So you never know when you're going to need just that little bit of extra life out of your heart. Obviously, you guys are here watching Bob Quick's journey. We all know that Bob Quick is absolutely got a lot of heart history. How many stents you have now?
Well, I had 20.
Okay.
I think that bypass took care of some of them, didn't it? I hope so.
I don't know.
Hey, you've held my hand before.
That's right.
I mean, you have. I got pictures of you holding my hand. I mean, he's talking right from the heart, people. I mean, this is somebody that has dedicated his whole life to helping other people. 100%. Believe me, he wouldn't go to work every day as a firefighter EMT and then teach CPR as his side job. Okay. And believe me, he does the CPR because he cares. And believe me, you want to be CPR certified, because the person that you could save, okay, and come in as a family. I mean, honestly, am I right or am I wrong there? Come in as a family, because
Absolutely.
You never know, especially in today's, I mean, you're out playing sports. Let's say you've never done drugs. Kids have never done drugs. Your kid drops. Like you said, time is of the essence. Yep. If you're trained, you're going to get on it. And I always love the excuse that somebody will tell me when I'm talking to them. I'll call 911. I'm sorry, but you're already number one. You're going to be confused. Okay. And like you said, they're going to hear that crack. And once they hear that crack, they're done. They think they're hurting somebody. No,
Yeah.
you're just separating to get down in there to massage that heart.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a heart attack survivor or stroke survivor, I highly recommend CPR. I mean, if you ain't certified, you need to be certified. And we will be putting up Brandon's link. Okay. Please reach out to him. And I know that if you're a business owner, Brandon would love to come in and teach your employees. And I know you get a lot of employers that say, oh, on the clock. Let me tell you one thing. I know that Brandon would come in either before their shift or after their shift. That way there, you give it to them as a bonus. They're getting a CPR certification. So all you business owners that follow me, please reach out. Okay, please reach out. Okay, and the Narcan, if you don't have Narcan and you got a kid that's on drugs, or let me give you a scenario. Good LDS guy, because we're in the land of the LDS. Okay,
That's right.
We really are. Okay, and I actually had a neighbor who was in a bishopric that OD'd, and he didn't OD because he was on the drugs. So he forgot. And this is at the height of the OxyContin thing that you've already went through. He forgot. He took one. She come home, thought he was just sleeping on the chair.
Yep.
She went in and made dinner, tried to wake him up. He's gone. So remember, people, it can happen to anybody at any time. And especially if you do take narcotics, it is a safety precaution. You may not be an addict, but please keep that Narcan in that thing. Let your wife know it's there. Everybody, let them know where it's at. I'm gonna shut my mouth now
No,
because
you're good.
I love listening to Brandon because he's so informative. So keep going, Brandon. I'll shut up, and you don't get me shut up very often. You know that.
No, it's good. It's good to have you jump in here and add your 2 cents for sure. So just kind of touch on what Bob said also. Absolutely. If you're on a narcotic medication prescribed by the doctor, it doesn't hurt to even ask for Narcan. Some people are scared of narcotics just because they know how bad they can be. My wife's one of those. She absolutely does not want it. She'll take ibuprofen or aspirin or whatever, but she's afraid of it because it's very, very, very addicting. We go on tons of calls. Elderly people, they're still in pain, so maybe they forgot or they took another pill just because they're in that much pain. And people frequently overdose on accident, which is very unfortunate. The narcotics
I don't think
are very
anybody
strong.
does it on. Well, some people do it on purpose because they're trying to commit suicide.
Sure.
But mostly, it's an accident.
Mhm.
It really is. It's a freaking accident. Or like you said earlier, the county. I mean, it starts off with our sheriffs, and just for everybody out there, that's watching us. Brandon is usually the second person on scene. Am I right?
Yeah.
Usually the first person on scene. I want you guys to think about this, okay? And especially anybody out there that's an active addict, I want you to think about this, okay? The first person that's going to come and see you is the police officer.
That's generally
Okay.
second,
That's-
actually.
That's usually, see, you're there first?
No, friends and family, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Friends and
family.
family. And then the police officer.
And they get to see you like that.
And then the fire guy comes, okay? So I want you guys to think about this. Is it fair to Brandon? Is it fair to that officer? And ask yourself this question. Is it really fair to your parents, to your wife, to your kids? Okay, because let me tell you one thing. When Jill was active, that phone went off in the middle of the night. I about shit a brick, okay? Because the first thing you think of is they've OD'd. And usually it's in the middle of the night when you go in them calls, ain't it?
It's all the time.
It don't matter,
It
huh?
doesn't matter. It's generally later in the afternoon or in the evening. But
And-
I've absolutely been in the middle of the day. Mornings is normally the one that's a little bit least common.
And one little stigmatism I want to get out there, okay? A lot of people think the ODs only happen in the ghetto and stuff. No, it goes from the ghetto right on up to the highest house on the hill
Absolutely.
and everything in between.
Absolutely.
It doesn't. It don't care about nationality. It don't care about religion. It don't care about anything.
No, it doesn't.
It really don't.
I actually had a person that I talked to just this week off of Facebook. And the guy there's a feed about CPR that I had started with other businesses and stuff like that. And this one guy had mentioned that he had done CPR. I said, hey, I would love to talk to you about it. And as I was talking to him about it, he told me that he did CPR on a kid running cross country. And this was years ago, and the kid didn't make it. So first off, I told him, hey, you can't hold that against yourself. Why? Because time's not on our side. I've been on so many calls where maybe it was an accident, vehicle accident, they're just demolished. I'm like, that person's not going to make it. And then I've been on other, and they walk out without a scratch. And then I've been on other calls where it's like, oh, ain't nothing. And the person doesn't make it. So obviously time is not on our side, but this guy was, you can tell he's a little bit bothered just that kid didn't make it. He did CPR on him. And then as I was talking to him, something I said made him think about his son. And his son actually had overdosed. And I believe it was an accidental overdose, but his son overdosed. And as I talked to this gentleman, he got very distraught. He was very upset. I don't know how long ago this was, but he says, I freaked out. I've been CPR certified, but in the moment, I freaked out and I didn't even do CPR. And I'm really glad that I talked to him, because in his mind, he's thinking that it's his fault, that he maybe could have saved his son. And I told him it's not true. And the reason why I said that's true, because one, time's not on our side. 4 to 6 minutes, our brain starts to die. After 10 minutes, like I said, our brain can be completely brain dead. He says when the cops arrived, they went down, they was checking on him. And then the firefighters came, just like Bob said. And the firefighters just kind of come in slowly. And him and his wife were like, hurry, come on, get in here. Officers have already informed the firefighters that it was an obvious, meaning that he wasn't coming back. CPR, nothing was going to make him come back. And that's why they wasn't in a hurry. And so that is a very common scenario. So with that being said, I knew for sure that he had been down for quite some time, and doing CPR would not have done any good. So it was cool just to talk to the gentleman, because he had two different scenarios. One where he did CPR, the kid didn't make it. One where he didn't, and his son didn't make it. And he was holding that against himself, which we absolutely can't, because like I said, I've seen accidents where people made it and they shouldn't have, and vice versa. So other than time, we have no power, we have no control. So even firefighters, we have tools and drugs and tricks and all kinds of stuff. We're going to do the best we can to help people. Ultimately, we don't have control, especially if somebody did overdose and they were down. A lot of the drugs, they take out your respiratory drive, you stop breathing, and that's kind of where it ends up. So the one thing I do want to bring up that I think I already brought it up, just the one cool thing that I have learned about the body and people in overdoses is how many people have CPR and we go give them Narcan and they wake up and they don't complain about chest pain. The reason I bring that up and reiterate it even is because CPR absolutely saves lives. If you don't do CPR on somebody that needs it, they're not going to make it. The success rate goes up dramatically just by doing CPR, by doing the best you can. Anybody can hop on to YouTube or AHA and watch a 10-second video, 30-second video on hands-only CPR and do hands-only CPR, and it will help that person survive. Everybody always asks me about hands-only versus breaths. Saying, we don't do breaths no more, right? No, we absolutely do breaths. It's still more effective to do compressions and breaths, but the compressions only absolutely will make a difference. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So unless you're, carrying a little pocket mask around and a little Narcan around, you probably don't want to mess with the drugs. Another little story. Yeah.
Question for you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a firefighter ask me today. Okay. So I need you to settle it for everybody out there that's listening. Okay. Why do people that have overdosed put somebody in the cold water? Does it help them?
That is the
I think
question.
that's a movie.
Well, no.
That is a
they do
question
weird
that
crap like that
we all-
and put it in their butt. They put ice cubes in their butt too,
And
it's not real, is it?
no, it doesn't work, especially if it's an overdose. But truthfully, what she said is absolutely very true. People very frequently throw ice or water on people. Sometimes they drag them into the bathtub, put them in the tub, put ice on them, put water on them. That doesn't work, right?
Thank you.
You know, people think that they've got some magic trick. You know, this is definitely a magic trick, or just staying away from it is far better, much better magic than ice, right? That reminds me of a call that we went on. This person had overdosed. She was in the tub. She had ice on her. She was drenched with water. And we always ask, why? Like, were they in the shower? We know what's going on, but we ask, you know, facetious question. Were they in the shower? What's going on? You're like, oh no, we threw water on them to see if that would help. And yes, it didn't work. But anyways, they had used Narcan on her before you arrived, and it did help. You know, she was starting to come around by the time we got there. And we have, on my last apartment I was with, we had some of these that we carried around, and we actually gave them out to the community, right, to help people. And we offered the person that owned the house if she wanted one of these Narcans. She's like, no, I don't want that crap at my house. I don't want that crap at my house.
You
Like,
need that at your house.
it was already at your house, number one. But number two, if you got that type of person there, then you need to have it, right? If you don't want to have a friend or family member die in your house because they overdosed, then get some Narcan. It absolutely worked wonders.
I got another question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, here we go.
No, I
Here we
want to
go.
ask
Here
We'll
we
get
go.
us kicked off.
because this is the stupid things people ask. Okay, if somebody overdoses, okay, let's say somebody overdoses and I get too scared to call in, or I call in, am I going to get charged because that person overdosed for helping that person?
Nope.
Or if I take them to the hospital and I don't end up staying with them, I just drop them off or whatever, will I get charged if I stay with them
You
to
get
help
more
them?
trouble, man, dropping them off and rolling them out the door and leaving them.
No.
None,
No.
huh? Wow.
Because that's why a lot of people won't call an ambulance or call to get somebody help when they overdose is because they're scared they're going to get charged. So I just had to throw out there to save your people if they are overdosing. I'm not saying that drug addiction is awesome, but if somebody is overdosing, to call and get help for that person so they don't die. Because you don't want that on your hands, right? You
Absolutely.
can't get charged if they do die in
Yeah.
your house.
It's just like I
Right.
said, I gave you a few scenarios and that's obviously totally dependent on the police, right?
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
at least with
What state
Ogden,
you're in, everything else.
yeah, there's a lot of variables. So that's definitely something they can't say, oh yeah, you're no way, whatever. But most time in Ogden, I was with Ogden Fire for 18 years. Most time PD they're just like, they just want the person to get help. Like, we take them to the hospital and then PD leaves and we leave. So it's totally dependent. But even the cops, I mean, the cops they don't want to have to see that. They don't have to deal with it. So that's a good question. Yeah.
One thing that I like to point out is I touched on it earlier is, you said the family sees them first, then the police officer, then you. Okay. Now let me tell you people, there is hotlines out there, not only for our first responders, but if you reach out also, because you did go through a traumatic situation, you found somebody that you love, they've OD'd. Okay, it's better to talk to somebody, get it out in the open. And one thing, people, don't hide it. Don't sugarcoat it. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, believe me, if you try to hide, no, my son, my daughter isn't a drug addict. Okay, I'm sorry to say, but there's one in every family. Okay, it may not be blip. Okay, you and your wife and your kids, but you go blip. Okay, there's nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles. They're there.
Grandma.
It's in every freaking family now in America.
So it's not where I thought you were heading. I thought you were heading. No, you're fine. No, it's good though. I thought you were heading in the direction of, like when we come as fire personnel, to be honest with us, which is absolutely
Yes, that's the
important.
number one
Yes.
thing.
But when we show up, we give Narcan, and we always talk to people, say, hey, what did you take? And most times it's nothing. Well, if we give you Narcan and your butt gets woke up guess what? You took something. This will only work if you've been on a narcotic. Like, absolutely. I can give it to 20 different people. Unless they're on a narcotic, it's not going to do
Now,
anything.
let me ask you one other thing.
I didn't know that.
I've been on a lot of calls too over the period of time. No, people, I ain't a firefighter. I'm blessed to be able to thank them. Thanks to a lot of generous sponsors, I get to go and I get to thank our fire department. But I have been on some calls all on the East Coast where Narcan was used on somebody that's OD'd. One of them, I mean, it was like you said, time after time after time. On that weekend, I think it was 3 or 4 times. Same person.
Yeah.
Okay, till finally the last call, they didn't make it.
Dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what I witnessed on the, I shouldn't say every time, but quite a few of them, when they woke up, they were so freaking pissed off
Mhm.
that you ruined their high.
Yep.
God, they saved your ass. How could you be mad?
Yeah, we get
But
that all
that
the
happened.
time.
I mean, they wake up swinging, man. So
They
They're
so-
mad. They're mad because they're no longer high anymore, and they're gonna wake up as soon as they wake up from being out there. They're gonna go and get their high again and probably
That's sad.
overdose.
So,
That's sad.
Right?
absolutely. And that's one thing about Narcan. When somebody overdoses, we come and give them Narcan.
They can't
We tell
get
them,
high.
you need to go to the hospital. Depending on the state, the county, everything else, it's totally different. Here in Weaver County, if they're alert and oriented and we wake them up, they don't always have to go, right? So sometimes they don't go to the hospital. This is not a long-acting drug. It's a short-acting drug. So if you don't go to the hospital and get more treatment, you can revert right back. And so I'm glad you said that. That's
How long
really
is it
what
active for?
that's
One
a
time,
question
right?
we can't.
No, I mean like how many hours?
It's normally not even hours, but it also depends on how much they took and the person's
Okay.
body and their metabolism. There's a lot of different,
See, I didn't know that.
different
I didn't know
variables.
that. I thought it lasted for 24 hours.
Yeah,
It
no,
doesn't.
no, it doesn't last
Thank you for
24 hours.
clearing that up.
Absolutely not. I guess just kind of a side thought, just thinking about another call that I went on. There's one call that we went on, and the patient was a diabetic, and the people that called didn't know him. It was a hotel.
Uh-huh.
They didn't know him, but we got in. We figured out. Oh yeah, okay, he's diabetic. Check all of his vitals, and he's also making this snoring sound, which is called the diabetic snore. Like, it's pretty common in diabetics. So we're doing stuff. We're checking him, give him an IV. We give him some glucose to help him come back around, and he still wasn't responsive. Right? He still wasn't coming back around. And we're just check the sugar again, and just still trying to figure out what's going on. I reached over and I just opened up his eyes and saw his pupils, and they were pinpoint. I'm like, he's overdosed. And this is just when I was a new firefighter, and Narcan also was kind of more new. And the paramedics came and gave him the shot. And as I sit there and watched the pupils went from pinpoint to boom to normal. And then a few minutes later, the guy woke up. I bring that up because here you got a medical problem, and then he overdosed, right? So his blood sugar was low, and he overdosed. And guess what? That's taking time away from us in helping that patient, because now it's 2 problems. It's not one.
Mhm.
We got to figure out both problems, and sometimes it's even more than that. So, tell you another little story. This is definitely a personal story. My dad, he was always clean and sober, and he was always very, very against drugs. And he got, divorced with my mom and remarried to this lady that she was into drugs, and he didn't know. Eventually she got him into doing drugs, and he got hooked on meth, and he was full blown hooked on meth. And he knew that it was bad. He felt that it was bad, and he took 6 months off of work and got himself off of the meth. The crappy thing is he did it on his own, which is another thing that's not advisable, because mentally it takes a toll on your body. And he went into such deep depression that he finally killed himself. So ultimately, in my opinion, the drugs did kill my dad, right? Like, he was addicted. It wasn't for a very long time. It wasn't even years, but he got very addicted, and then he got himself off, and then he killed himself. So again, just messing around with it. You just don't know what the outcome's going to be. It's just not even worth messing with it. So,
Thank you
questions?
for sharing that, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
for
thank you,
real.
Brandon.
I mean, that goes right into what I was saying. It's in every family. You may not know it. It may not rear its head, but it's there. And the number one thing I got to say to people, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Do not give up on that person. But you've got to set boundaries too. Okay. If it's your child, don't keep giving them money. Shut the money train off. Okay. It's called tough love. Okay. They go to jail. You go see them one time. You don't give them money. Okay. Believe me, they take good care of them there, don't they, Brandon? They get 3 squares a day, or else they all wouldn't be leaving all chubby and fat, would they?
3 hots and a cop, baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
But people, remember, CPR is a big thing, especially in my book, being a CPR survivor and a heart attack survivor. Luckily, I've never OD'd. Okay. Maybe I did the day I had the heart attack. Who knows? But lucky I never had to do Narcan. Okay. Mine was meth, just like your dad. And it basically killed me. Look, and I'm coming up on my 20-year sobriety. And that's thanks. And I can never say this enough to people like Brandon, people that I really look up to. They are the reason I've never relapsed. You know that. I've told you that.
Oh, yeah.
I've told Jeremy that. I've told everybody that I can't look at you and say I had a bad day and a relapse.
Yeah.
That don't happen, man. You know, I may sit and tear up and everything, but you'll never see me relapse. You've known me a long time.
Yeah.
And I've been through hell and back, and I still haven't relapsed. So all you people out there that want to relapse, believe me, it isn't worth it. That momentary high is not worth it. You're going to beat yourself up and down for the next however long it takes you to get straight
And
again.
then probably throw yourself into depression.
Yeah,
after
and throw
that,
yourself
yeah.
in depression, just
For
like
doing
Brandon
it, yep.
said about his dad. So the number one thing tonight, take away, don't do the drugs.
Don't do it.
They don't do the drugs. Number 2, if Brandon shows up or a firefighter shows up at your house because of an OD, don't bullshit them. Okay, tell them the truth. Okay, because like he said, time is of the essence. And I know that because how many times have you watched me leave Murphy door and the instrument said there was nothing wrong with Bob?
Mm-hmm.
And 20 minutes later, Jeremy's taking me, Paul's taking me, somebody's taking me to the hospital. And sure enough, they're keeping Bob and having a stent.
Yeah.
Okay. And I still blame all my shit on drug addiction.
I'm sure.
You know,
And like I said, imagine if you hadn't done drugs, your heart might
that
be.
poor heart looks like hell.
Well, it can
Yeah.
still affect you even if you ain't on them for years and
Oh,
years
yeah.
and years and after.
But remember, people, please take a CPR class. Okay. We're going to link up Brandon's thing. Jill will here. She'll have that up here in a little while. Okay. Reach out to them, especially you business owners. Get your people CPR certified, because let me tell you something. That person that might be saving you. And so don't be a miser and say we can't afford it in our business, because you can, because it may be you that they save.
And in Utah, there's some funding also to help with that.
Yeah, hear that.
So-
Funding. So I'm going to put you in touch with Brandon, all business owners, and he also puts up classes.
You can
And
show them your jacket.
that's the CPR Plus.
Show them your
We're going to
logo.
put everything up.
You
You
can
can
see
see
it?
it right
Oh,
there, CPR Plus. Okay, and believe me, it does save lives. I'm living proof of that. Living proof.
Some companies like to even have their own instructor. You know, I do instructor classes. We do.
There we go.
Other classes, whatever you want to do. But we do some stuff in state, out of state. Even if you're out of state, I have connections out of state. If I can't help you, I'll
And
have somebody else help
If
you.
I ain't mistaken, you're also putting AEDs in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so think about that. Business owners, okay, AEDs. Okay, you got to have one, because not everybody has a Bob built-in pacemaker. Okay, that's a joke, people. Okay.
So since you brought up AEDs, let me just tell you, this is a true story. As I've gone around talking about CPR and AEDs to companies and stuff like that, I always look at their AEDs to make sure their service. Some companies will just buy the AED and that's it. They just buy it, put it there, think it's good to go. This one company, I was trying to tell them, hey, your pads are expired. You need to get new pads. They're like, oh, that's $60 every 2 years. And that's a lot of money. I'm like, not for this big construction company. It's not, they they spend more money on airing the tires than they do on the AED, right? And I finally convinced them that let's just open up. Let me show you. Like, well, it's just wires. There's nothing can go wrong. We opened it up, and those pads have glue on them to stick to the chest, and they were crunchy. And they're like, oh, I guess we should get some new pads, right? So fast forward that to, this was just literally a couple years ago. Murphy Door bought 3 AEDs from a company, and this company gave us some pads that were going to last for a short time, and they lasted a year, and then they expired. The batteries that was sent with the AED lasted 6 months. So basically, we bought 3 AEDs, and in 6 months' time, all 3 of the AEDs were no good. Mm-hmm. So a lot of states have laws. Utah does also have a law talking about the AEDs. If people have an AED, you need to have people there that know how to use it, mm-hmm. that are certified in CPR, and you also need to do checks on it. A lot of your AEDs are to check the batteries automatically by themselves, but you need to make sure that the batteries are good. You need to make sure that the pads are good, because if they're not, that AED is the most important piece of equipment next to CPR. You need CPR, you need AED, you need both. And if you only got CPR, the chance of survival still isn't as great as it would be with an AED. Your chance is going to more than double. Success rate is going to more than double by having an AED. So if you're going to buy an AED, don't just buy one from any online company. Make sure you get it from a reputable. Reach out to me. I'll hook you up with one. If you're not in Utah, you'll have to inspect and take care of your own. But make sure that your AEDs are checked and buy.
And all yours are certified. Everything else that you sell with warranties, everything, right?
Yes.
We don't have to worry.
Absolutely.
No Temus?
No Temus? No Temus. Yes. No Temu AEDs.
No, remember that, people. Okay. That's somebody from a firefighter that's certified as an instructor. Okay. CPR. And he's telling you about the AED. Believe me, you've got to have them, because that few seconds that somebody's performing CPR, they can grab that off the wall. They stick it. It's self-explanatory. A lot of them will walk you right on.
They all do.
But most good companies, Jeremy, now, I mean, he actually had everybody learn how to use the dang thing. I mean, probably for me, but I still have my own. You know? Yeah. But yeah, they are that important in a bit. And if I am mistaken, if you have AEDs in your business, will your insurance company give you a little discount as far as your insurance goes?
That's something you have to work out with insurance. Some
I would think so. Wouldn't you? I mean,
some of them will, some of them won't.
Okay.
And again, county, city, state, there's a lot of variables.
Okay.
But regardless, it's cheap insurance for you and your employees, right? Especially if you have somebody with heart conditions. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't have somebody with heart conditions, like I said, I got hemochromatosis, and that iron overloads on my heart, and it causes heart issues. The heart is it's such amazing little muscle, but it's also very fragile, right? Like, talking about hearts, my boy is 21 years old, is going to go in the military, very excited, want to go in the military, gets to the medical doctor there, and the doctor listens to his heart and goes, oh, you got a heart murmur, probably no big deal, go get it checked out. We'll see you next week, right? Goes and gets checked out, and he had a leaky valve.
Yep, he's part of the chest cracking club with me.
Yep, he's out of the military. So that dream was shot just because.
But now he's going to follow in your footsteps, right?
No.
He's gonna do. I thought he was going to do wildland.
Nope.
What's he going to do now?
He's just working at the city dumps, driving big trucks.
Hey, at least he's working, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But his dream was shot because of his heart, right? He had open heart surgery, cracked and everything.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Yeah, I remember. He was terrified.
Yeah.
And he woke up, and man, he's been having fun ever since, man. It's like I tell people, when I get a stent, it was like getting a brand new pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
You remember me coming back? I was like, oh yeah, you guys couldn't shut my ass down.
Yeah, but it does suck, because after you get your chest cracked or whatever, you no longer become valuable to employers. They look at you as liability, and it sucks because a lot of people after that will fight for it, like my dad, but they consider him,
I was blessed.
HR
honestly.
nightmare.
I am an
I've seen
HR
that.
nightmare, but I've been blessed, period.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You
I
have,
really have. You know, that for as much stuff as I've had done to me, that I'm still as active, coherent, and I ain't 6 foot under.
Right? I try all the time, and he ain't going away. Brandon, I don't know what to do. Need one of those AEDs so I can get him with it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, we've about ready to end it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everyone. We're going to end it for tonight. Next week we will be back Wednesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have a special guest next week. We'll announce. You can hear Red saying we're done for the night, but we are going to hitch up a link, and that will put you directly in touch with Brandon and CPR Plus. And believe me, he isn't like me. He actually responds within a couple minutes. I only answer the shit, and he'll tell you the truth. So don't think I'm being ignorant to people. I answered in the morning or at night, huh, Brandon? That's about it, huh?
Yeah.
So everyone, have a wonderful night. Jill's going to log us out. We appreciate you all, and everyone have a good night. And thank you all. And everybody tell Brandon thank you because he took this time out to come and teach you.
And I just started up a YouTube page as well. So I'll be talking a lot about first aid, AEDs, CPR.
We'll hit that up too.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So like my page as well. It's brand new. My first few videos pretty much suck, but you know,
We'll get there.
it'll get better.
Hey,
Good.
thanks, people.
You
Bye-bye.
good, Brandon?
Yep.
There it is. There it
That
is.
was good.
Yes, you were awesome.
I love
It
that.
was helpful.